Here's something that might sting a little. You have the same 24 hours as every successful person you admire, same hours as the billionaires, same hours as the athletes, same hours as the people who built empires from nothing. So why does your day feel like it disappears before you've done anything meaningful? Today, I want to talk to you about something most people get completely wrong about time. It's not about working harder or waking up earlier. It's about understanding how your brain actually works and using that knowledge to your advantage. What I'm about to share could change everything. Everything. Years ago, I found myself completely burned out. I was working 12-hour days, running from task to task, and yet somehow falling further behind. I remember sitting at my desk one evening thinking, where did the day go? That moment haunted me. I'd studied human behavior for decades, watched thousands of people communicate and connect, but I'd missed something obvious about myself. I was busy, but I wasn't effective. There's a massive difference. That realization forced me to dig deeper into how our minds actually process time, energy, and focus. What I discovered wasn't complicated. It was surprisingly simple. The problem isn't that we don't have enough hours. The problem is we've been taught to use them all wrong. Let me show you what actually works. Let me paint a picture for you. You wake up in the morning with good intentions. Today's going to be different, right? You've got your list, you've got your coffee, you're ready to attack the day. Then what happens? You check your phone, just a quick look. 5 minutes turns into 20. Someone sent you a message that needs a reply. You scroll through some news. Before you know it, an hour has evaporated into thin air. Sound familiar? Some of you probably do this every single morning. And look, I'm not judging. I've been there. I spent years doing exactly this without even realizing how much damage it was causing. Here's what most people don't understand about time. It's not like money. You can't save it. You can't store it up for later. You can't get a refund when you waste it. Every minute that passes is gone forever. And yet we treat time like it's infinite, like there's always more coming. There isn't. I've watched people in my seminars, in my workshops, in airports and coffee shops all around the world. You know what the most common behavior is? Distraction. People filling every quiet moment with noise, with screens, with anything that keeps them from actually thinking about what matters. Why do we do this? Because thinking is uncomfortable. Planning is uncomfortable. Facing the gap between where we are and where we want to be, that's really uncomfortable. So we numb ourselves with business. Let me tell you something I noticed years ago while studying how people communicate. The most successful people I met weren't the busiest. In fact, many of them seemed almost relaxed. They had this calm energy about them. Meanwhile, the people who were constantly running around, always stressed, always behind, they weren't actually getting more done. They were just more exhausted. There's a difference between motion and progress. You can spend your entire day in motion. Emails, meetings, phone calls, running from one thing to the next. At the end of the day, you collapse into bed feeling like you've been productive. But here's the question that matters. Did you move closer to your goals? Most people can't answer that question honestly. I know how this feels because I lived it. For years, I measured my worth by how busy I was. If I wasn't running at full speed, I felt guilty, like I was being lazy, like I was falling behind. But falling behind what exactly? That's the trap. We're so busy keeping up with everyone else's expectations that we never stop to ask what we actually want. What would make us happy? What would make us proud at the end of our lives? And look, I get it. Life is demanding. You've got responsibilities, bills to pay, people depending on you. You can't just drop everything and go meditate on a mountain. But here's the thing. You're already making choices about your time. Every single day, every single hour. You're choosing what gets your attention and what doesn't. The question is whether those choices are conscious or unconscious. Most people operate on autopilot. They react to whatever lands in front of them. The phone buzzes, they look. An email arrives, they respond. Someone asks for something, they say yes. That's not living, that's just responding. And the consequences are brutal. You end up living someone else's agenda instead of your own. You reach 40, 50, 60 years old and wonder where the time went. You have regrets. Things you wish you'd done. Places you wish you'd gone. Words you wish you'd said. I've seen it happen to brilliant, talented, capable people. Not because they weren't smart enough. Not because they didn't work hard enough. But because they never took control of their time. Don't let that be you. Now here's where things get interesting. For most of my life, I believed the same thing everyone believes. That time management is about fitting more stuff into your day. Get up earlier, work faster, multitask better, squeeze every last drop of productivity out of every hour. That's completely wrong. And I had to fail spectacularly to figure this out. There was a period in my career when I was saying yes to everything, every speaking engagement, every interview, every opportunity that came my way. I thought I was being ambitious. I thought I was building something. What I was actually doing was spreading myself so thin that nothing got my best effort. I remember one particular week where I flew to 3 different countries in 5 days. I gave presentations that were decent but not great. I had conversations I can barely remember. I came home so exhausted that I was useless to my family for days. And for what? That's when something shifted in my thinking. I realized that the goal isn't to do more. The goal is to do what matters. Those are 2 completely different things. Think about it like this. Your energy is like a battery. You wake up with a certain amount of charge. Some activities drain that battery fast. Others drain it slowly. A few things actually recharge it. What most people do is spend their battery on low value activities first. They use their best morning energy answering emails and dealing with small problems. By the time they get to the important stuff, they're running on empty. Then they wonder why they can't focus, why they can't think clearly, why everything feels so hard. Here's the mindset shift that changed everything for me. Your most important work deserves your best energy. Simple, right? Almost obvious. But how many people actually live this way? I started restructuring my days around this principle. The hardest, most creative work happens first, when my brain is fresh, when my willpower is strong, when I have the mental resources to actually think deeply. The easy stuff, that happens later, when my energy is lower and I can run on autopilot a bit. Some of you might be thinking, but Allan, I don't control my schedule. I have a boss. I have meetings. I can't just do whatever I want. I hear you, and you're partially right. But you have more control than you think. Can you wake up 30 minutes earlier and spend that time on your most important goal before the world starts making demands? Can you protect your lunch break for focused work instead of scrolling on your phone? Can you batch your email checking instead of responding every 5 minutes? Small changes, massive impact over time. Here's another thing I had to unlearn, the idea that being busy means being important. In many workplaces, there's this unspoken competition to seem the most overwhelmed. People brag about how little sleep they got, how many hours they worked, how packed their calendar is. That's insanity. Nobody on their deathbed wishes they'd answered more emails. What people regret is not spending time on what truly matter. Relationships, health, creative projects, adventure, the things that make life rich and meaningful. When I started studying successful people more closely, I noticed something fascinating. The really successful ones guard their time fiercely. They say no constantly. They have boundaries that would seem rude to the rest of us because they understand something crucial. Every yes to something unimportant is a no to something important. You can't do everything. You have to choose. And if you don't choose deliberately, life will choose for you, usually in ways you won't like. This shift in mindset takes courage. It means disappointing people sometimes. It means missing out on things that seem urgent but aren't actually important. It means sitting with the discomfort of saying no, but the alternative is worse. The alternative is reaching the end of your life and realizing you spent it on other people's priorities instead of your own. All right, let's get specific. I want to give you actual tools you can use starting today, not complicated systems, not apps you download and never open, real simple strategies that work. First, understand your energy patterns. Everyone has different times when they're naturally more alert and focused. For most people, this is the morning, but not everyone. Some people genuinely do their best work at night. Here's how to figure out your pattern. For 1 week, pay attention to how you feel at different times of the day. When do you feel sharp? When do you feel sluggish? When do ideas come easily? When does everything feel like a struggle? Track it. Write it down. Once you know your pattern, protect your peak hours like your life depends on it. Because in many ways it does. The quality of your life will be determined by what you do during those hours. Second, use the 2-minute rule with a twist. You've probably heard that if something takes less than 2 minutes, you should do it right away. That's good advice for small tasks. But here's my twist. If something will take more than 2 minutes and it's not aligned with your top priorities, write it down and save it for later. Don't let small tasks hijack your best hours. Batch them together and handle them when your energy is lower. Third, master the art of the strategic pause. Here's something I learned from watching body language for decades. When people are stressed and rushed, their decision-making gets worse. Much worse, they react instead of respond. They miss important information. They make mistakes they wouldn't make if they just slowed down for a moment. Before you respond to any request, any email, any demand on your time, pause. Take a breath. Ask yourself, is this actually important? Is this the best use of my time right now? Does this align with what I'm trying to build? The 3-second pause can save you hours of wasted effort. Fourth, create what I call a not to do list. Everyone talks about to-do lists, but equally important is knowing what you're not going to do. What activities drain your energy without giving much back? What commitments did you make that you now regret? What time wasters have become habits? Write them down, put them somewhere visible. Remind yourself daily of the things you're choosing not to do. Fifth, use commitment devices. This one's powerful. Our willpower is limited. We know what we should do, but we often don't do it. Commitment devices are external constraints that force us to follow through. For example, if you want to stop checking your phone first thing in the morning, charge it in another room overnight. Now, you physically can't check it without getting up and walking to it. That small barrier is often enough. If you want to exercise in the morning, sleep in your workout clothes. Sounds silly, right? But it works. You've removed a decision point. You've made the right choice easier. 6, schedule your rest. This sounds counterintuitive, but hear me out. Most people work until they're exhausted, then collapse. They rest when they have to, not when it's strategic. This leads to burnout and inconsistent performance. Instead, schedule your breaks, schedule your days off. Treat rest as a non-negotiable appointment with yourself. When you know rest is coming, you can push harder during work periods. And when you rest completely, you recover faster. I've watched top performers across many fields, and this is a pattern they all share. They work intensely, then they recover completely. No half measures either way. 7th, learn to communicate your boundaries. Here's where my body language research comes in handy. How you say no matters as much as saying it. Don't apologize excessively. Don't over-explain. Don't leave openings for negotiation. Just be direct and warm. I can't take that on right now, but thanks for thinking of me. That doesn't work for my schedule, but I hope it goes well. I'm focused on other priorities this month. Your body language should match your words. Stand tall, make eye contact, speak clearly. When your non-verbal signals are confident, people accept your boundaries more easily. What should you avoid? Don't try to fix everything at once. Pick 1 or 2 of these strategies and actually implement them before adding more. I've seen people get excited, try to change everything overnight, then burn out and go back to their old habits. Small, consistent changes beat dramatic, unsustainable ones every time. Don't expect instant results. You're building new habits, new patterns, new ways of thinking about time. That takes weeks, sometimes months. Be patient with yourself and don't beat yourself up when you fail. You will fail. You'll have days where you waste time, where you fall back into old patterns, where nothing goes according to plan. That's normal. That's human. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is progress. Now let's be honest with each other. Everything I've told you is simple to understand and hard to do. I know that. You know that. Changing how you use your time means changing deeply ingrained habits. It means going against the pull of distraction that's built into our modern world. It means making choices that feel uncomfortable in the short term, even though they pay off enormously in the long term. This is hard. And there will be days when you wonder if it's worth it. Let me tell you about a man I met at one of my events in Melbourne years ago. His name was David. He was in his late 50s, and he'd spent most of his career in a job he didn't love, working for a company that didn't appreciate him. After my talk, he came up to me with tears in his eyes. He said, "Allan, I've wasted so much time. I had dreams when I was young, things I wanted to build, places I wanted to go. But I kept telling myself there was plenty of time later. Now I'm 57, my health isn't great, and later has become never." That conversation has stayed with me for years, because David isn't unusual, he's the norm. Most people sleepwalk through their lives, always assuming there's more time. They defer their dreams to some imaginary future when conditions will be perfect, when they have more money, when the kids are older, when things calm down at work. That future never arrives, the conditions are never perfect. There's always another reason to wait. Listen. I'm not trying to scare you, but I am trying to wake you up. Your time is limited, not in some abstract philosophical sense, in a very real, very concrete sense. The hours you have left are finite, and every single one that passes is gone forever. That can feel depressing, or it can be incredibly motivating, because if time is limited, then every choice matters. Every day matters. How you spend this afternoon matters. You have more power than you think. Yes, change is hard. Yes, old habits are stubborn. Yes, the world conspires to distract you and fill your time with meaningless noise. But you can push back. You can reclaim your hours. You can direct your energy toward what truly matters to you. You can build a life that feels intentional instead of accidental. Will it be easy? No. Will it be worth it? Absolutely. So here's where we are. You have the same 24 hours as everyone else on this planet. That hasn't changed. What can change is how you use them. Not by doing more, not by working harder, not by some complicated productivity system that promises to fix everything, but by being intentional, by understanding your energy, by protecting your best hours for your most important work, by saying no to the things that don't matter so you can say yes to the things that do. This isn't about becoming some productivity robot. It's about becoming more fully yourself, about making space in your life for what lights you up, about not reaching the end with a list of regrets a mile long. I've spent decades studying human behavior, watching how people communicate, how they connect, how they succeed and fail. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's this. The people who live remarkable lives aren't fundamentally different from you. They just make different choices with their time. They guard it fiercely. They spend it wisely. They invest it in things that matter. You can do the same, starting right now. Starting today, not tomorrow. Not next week. Not when things calm down. Now take one strategy from what we've discussed, just one, and implement it today. Prove to yourself that you can change how you use your time. Then build from there. Your future self is going to look back at this moment, at this decision point, at what you chose to do next. Make them proud. The clock is ticking. It always is. The only question is what you'll do with the time you have left.